Welcome, everybody. Welcome back from the holiday break. This is the weekly WP Roundup with BJ Keeton. That's me. And every week, every Friday, we get together and we talk about the very best news, tutorials, and resources that I was able to find in the world of WordPress. We have a fantastic community, so feel free to throw anything you want in the comments. Talk to us. Let us know what was going on in your week. And if you have any kind of questions, then please just let me know. Let people know. Like I said, we have a great community, and a lot of people get their questions answered in the comments. Where if I don't know the answer, hopefully somebody else does. So I want to welcome everybody back. It's been a little while since we did this. I apologize for not being here last week. Food poisoning decided that it did not want me to stream, and so I'm very happy to be back and be able to talk to you guys and get through some of these articles with you. If you're new here, if you've never watched this stream, I mean, this is a brand new year, so hopefully we've got some new people watching. What we do is we go through all of the links in the description of this video. So if you expand the comments, and the description rather, you'll see below the every link just a slew of them, so that you can feel free to copy and paste, click any of them, keep the whole list, do whatever you want, and just give the content creators a bunch of love so that we can keep doing this. I tend to get distracted by comments pretty regularly because I do monitor the comments as they come through. So I want you guys to be aware of that. So if you haven't, like I said, if you have anything to say, please say it. I see everybody. Hi, Kenneth and Rick and John on Facebook, trying to make sure I actually see Facebook comments this time. The last time I did this, I was having a big problem with Facebook. I see everybody. Oh, man, we've already got questions. That's awesome. Like I said, I get distracted by these. So before we even move into the news, I'd like to address some of the comments. I mean, hi everybody who is there. Lots of people. Good morning in Melbourne. That's awesome. But Reed McDowell asks, says, so I'm changing up prices. Do we think that 75 to 100 per hour is too much for WordPress related changes? You're not trying to be too high, but definitely not too cheap for maintenance clients. And I don't think that's absurd at all. I mean, that is right there with what I've known freelancers and friends to do for their rates for maintenance clients. It depends on when they came into your business, whether the new clients or existing clients, because I had one friend who had a much lower rate on existing clients than he did new clients because he didn't want to constantly jump up for them. So it really seems that it's just different. Like he had a $60 an hour maintenance client rate for old clients who were grandfathered in, and then depending on what point they brought on, he basically had a tier of, well, I'd raise my prices for these guys to 65, I'd raise my prices at this point to 70, and he was able to keep moving past that. But no, I don't think that's an absurd price at all. I would say that's pretty normal, actually. I would say it's actually a little cheap depending on what you're doing. If it's development type work, if you're digging in on code, I've seen people do $150 an hour. So it just really depends on what kind of work it is. But no, I think you're fine. Whatever fits your area and clients and their budgets, whatever works out the best for everybody to keep you in work and to keep them being able to pay you to keep you in work, I think is a good idea. So I don't think that's crazy. So yeah, I see a lot of people. I see that Uncle Social had problems with the bell icon on YouTube. I think everybody has problems with that at some point. My wife has a channel she subscribes to, Woodworking for Mere Mortals, and every once in a while she doesn't get a notification or a subscription whenever subscription notification when a new video posts, and she's like, I completely missed Steve's new video. So YouTube's crazy. So I want to move into the news. I'll be back at the comments in just a second. But over the last few weeks, we haven't been doing this since just before Christmas. So there's been a lot that's added up. There's been some stuff going on. But really, one of the newest things that I was able to find in the news that I really did just think was kind of cool was that Google launched an open source software kind of instructional website. That opensource.dev is kind of an introduction to open source, and WP Tavern has a really cool article just kind of talking about it. That's where I found out about it, because it talks about how it's really hard to get into open source. We've talked about that before, that it we love the idea of it, but a lot of people don't know where to jump in. And they have put together 2,000 open source projects that they can help you get through. That it's really, the way they say it is, a solid list of curated links important to open source organizations, so that basically we know what to do, because like I said, it's hard. So if you've been interested in getting into open source and you haven't really got an idea on how to do that, because you don't exactly just like, hey, I'm going to put this into WordPress, click, 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 click. That doesn't happen. So this is a really good place to be able to start. I see Isom ask, what's the best database management tool for dynamic content? Oh, I don't know. I hope somebody does. I don't know if you guys heard that, but apparently my animals are playing and they ran into my office and out very quickly. So I apologize if that happens. But yeah, I don't know about the database management tool for dynamic content. I'm hoping somebody out there does. Please, if somebody knows on that one. Sorry, I'm looking at it. Yeah, hi to Southern California. Hi to Janet. Everybody. Hey, Judy. Hi, everybody. I'm glad everybody's being able to come in. I'm hoping that everybody had a wonderful break. I hope you got a break. I hope that you at least got a little bit of time off, so that you were able to chill and relax and start the new year kind of refreshed. Was a good break for me too. Outside the food poisoning, just had a birthday. Everything's good. So I hope that you're as fantastic as I am, y'all. So just touching on it, not even going to really say a whole lot because I don't know a whole lot about it, but YoastCon is coming up. Y'all know that I love Yoast. So when I saw this, I had to put it on here. That February 7th and 8th, they're hosting YoastCon, and it's something that, let's see where... And it's held in, I can't say this, Nijmegen, Nijmegen, in the Netherlands. So it's something that if you're in Europe and that's somewhere that you would like to go, I think it would be well worth it, because Yoast basically runs the internet, in my opinion. Them and Google, like, so good. But they always put out good content. I can't imagine that YoastCon wouldn't be fantastic too. But just recently, they put out a WordPress 5.03 release, just a security patch. Just wanted to let you guys know that if you got an automatic update from SiteGround or anywhere like that, I got the SiteGround automatic update the other day, and I was like, what? Just a maintenance patch, nothing major or catastrophic, just fixing everything. They said it was 37 bug fixes, and a lot of them, 15 of them, were to the new block editor, that they were just fixing some of the stuff with Gutenberg to make it run more smoothly. And we expected this. Everybody knew that they were pushing it out right before WordCamp US so that they would be able to have it out at WordCamp US. And then now that we're over almost 2 months in, that we have... we're getting to see these major bugs being fixed, but it does run a lot faster than it did when it was released. So hopefully it will for you as well. But speaking of WordPress updates, I saw that WP Tavern again had posted this, that somehow I'd missed the blog post that WordPress themselves had posted, that now they are replacing in 5.1, whenever the next major point release comes out, WordPress 5.1, they are going to be replacing the happy blogging language with happy publishing. That they are changing the language, that they're taking away some of the blog references, that we're now trying to see it as a publishing platform. So they're talking about working on it, as Gary Pendergast says. WordPress is no longer a simple blogging platform. It is now a comprehensive publishing solution, which is true. That is not untrue, and I do understand the need for that change, because some people really do see WordPress as nothing but a blog, which, if that's what you use it for, it's great at that. That's what it started as. That's fine. I use it for just my blogs all the time. But it was interesting to me to see them finally changing the language in everything. It's something that I don't necessarily like it, because I like blogging so much, because I like the term. I don't think there's any kind of stigma to it. But a lot of people, and companies especially, whenever you see that you're using a blogging software for, say, running a hospital website or university, or using it as a database that you can do with REST now, it's hard to get that past administration sometimes. So if you're looking at this as a publishing platform, it may be easier for a lot more enterprise and academic and business solution or business companies to take it on as a solution. Uncle Social says publishing does sound far more expensive than blogging. That Reed McDowell can now hike his prices again, and that's true. Reed, now it means that as of 5.1, you are no longer a blogging software professional. You're now a publishing software professional, and that means that you go from 70 to 100 to 150 to 200. So congratulations on the raise. Sorry, I had a hair in the side of my mouth. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I'm not a big fan of it, but I think it's me being old and curmudgeonly and not wanting to move past the internet of 2003. So we'll see on how it goes and how the community reacts, and if anybody even really notices outside of people like us. But it is an interesting thing that they're moving forward with branding more to the publishing side of things, which they've been working toward. I mean, he's called this democratizing publishing, Matt Mullenweg has. So it's been a long time coming because of stuff like that. And then I wanted the very last thing on news I thought was fantastic. GitHub. Those of you who use GitHub, you can now get free unlimited number of free private repositories. That is a big change for GitHub. Used to, you would have to go using a service like Bitbucket or another to have private repositories on a free site. And there's a lot of reasons to use private repos, job interviews, side projects, things like that. And so being able to have free private repos on GitHub is amazing, because it was just a paid feature before now. It means that you're going to be able to use GitHub a lot more for enterprise clients, especially for, well, I don't want to say enterprise, for business clients, that if you have a front-facing public repository and then you're paying for a private repository, you don't have to do that now, which can really help small businesses along. The only real caveat to that is that there is a 3 contributor minimum, like maximum on this one, so you can only add 3 more people to it. So that limits it. But again, small development teams, that kind of thing, if you're just using it for personal projects, job interviews, whatever it is, you take your part of the team and you're working on your particular section of the project, it's a great thing. I am so happy to see this. I actually need to go mark a bunch of my old stuff as private, just because it was when I was learning to code. It's just tutorial stuff that I've had up that I wanted to use GitHub, and it's just some Rails development stuff on an old GitHub. It's like, that doesn't need to be public. Nobody needs to see all that. So it's just me. So, I mean, nobody is seeing that, and it's just out there on the internet. So I just need to change those to private now. And I'm glad that I have that option. So that was the news. That was what I found this week. I want to see. Oh, I see some people on Facebook. I see that Tanmoy, I'm going to mispronounce that. Tanmoy Biswas, I butchered your name. I'm so sorry. Says, please update your support system. We are always working to refine things. We're working on getting a knowledge base in there through support, through the live chat, working on making sure that the responses and everything that we're able to get you more help faster. So we're definitely working on it. I know a couple of things that are coming soon that I can't talk about that I think are going to be fantastic for you. So we are working on updating it, I promise you. I'm actually looking really forward to one of them because I want to see the community reaction to it. So eventually that's going to come, and I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised on it. I see that John says, please bring header, footer, themer, woo modules, child pages modules, list modules. Yeah, those are coming. At least most of those are coming as far as I know. This year is going to be a really big year for us. I think that we are going to have a lot of releases that you guys are happy with, like those with header and footer specifically in the themer. I can't say, specifically what's going to happen because I'm not on the dev team, but I think you guys are going to be really happy with the stuff that I do know about. So I'm so excited that this is the beginning of the year, and I'm the kind of guy, like, I don't know if you guys have seen any of the press junkets that like Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo did for the Avengers movies, where they tell them what's going on before they film it or whatever, and then they just tell everybody on the internet and spoil it. Like Mark Ruffalo spoiled the end of Infinity War during a press junket and got in trouble. So I'm afraid that I'm that guy. So I don't want to be that guy. I don't want you guys to have that happen to me. So so cool stuff's coming. So I think you're gonna be happy about that. But absolutely, make sure of that. Okay, so I see that Chansine. Oh, again, butchering it. Chansine is what I'm going to go with. Says that she charges $75 an hour for WordPress related maintenance. So that's awesome. That's right in the range that Reed was looking at. So he says that that solidifying his resolve. For far too long, I was charging $40 to $50 an hour. Reed, you saying that about $40 and $50 an hour? It's I've told the story before, but when I went to my very first conference, talked to a guy who was a WordPress freelancer. He when I told him that I was charging $50 an hour, he just looked at me and said, "You can't make a living at that." And he was right. He is one of them who I know charges $150 an hour. That's his base that he'll go up from there. So I guess it really does just depend on your area and stuff like that. But yeah, get up from 50. I actually still do 50 on some projects, depending on what they are, to be able to side projects that are just going to be easy, and I know I can reel in the client like that. It's going to be 50 an hour, and I usually have a minimum of 10 hours, so it's okay. That point, so sorry about that. I see Uncle Social says that I mentioned headers and footers and it's been pushed back another week as punishment. So I was just answering a question, but we have a running joke, if you're not new, that if you mention the header and footer updates that everybody wants, that it just gets pushed back a week for bringing it up again. But Chauncey asked if any menu updates are coming soon for custom menu layouts without using the module, and that I don't know. That's one that I don't know about. I don't know about that particular update. I'm thinking that don't hold me to this. This is just me. It might be. I know it will at least be included in the theme updater when we're doing it as a theme designer. I don't know if it'll be coming out before that, but it is something that you'll get, I know, at some point. And JL Creative says, what would you guys charge for general site maintenance, WordPress, and core plugins? That's actually what I would charge, JL. I would do anywhere, depending on your area, but in urban areas, like where the area I'm in is not necessarily urban. It's a small city, but I can easily get 50 here. If I were to push for 75, I think that I could get it from most people. Small businesses here probably couldn't do 75 an hour, but a lot of the clients, more business clients, could. I think it will depend on what your area is, but yeah, like we've said before, 75 an hour is not unreasonable for that. I've had friends who were charged, like I said, 75 an hour, and their peers told them they were charging too little for their particular skill set. So I don't think that you have any problem with that. And Reed says this is probably the most important podcast I've seen, so I appreciate that. But yeah, the Uncle Social's absolutely right. How much you need the work, how much you value yourself. That's a big one, to tell you honestly, that how much you value yourself, that actually comes across a lot in this, because if you think that you can't get $75, then I honestly don't think that people will pay you for it, because when you tell them what it is, you're going to be kind of shy about it. You're not going to have the confidence of saying, well, I charge $75, but if that doesn't work for you, maybe don't do that at first. Do start out and be like, I charge $75 with a minimum of 10 hours. And they're like, well, I can't do that, but then you can still keep the hourly rate at that, but say, well, if you need to, I can do it as a package deal, or do it as a minimum. I would have to do 5 hours, where something like that maybe. And Reed says do it in an email. And then Tobias Buckell, an author that I've spoken with, and it's worked to me, has an email that says, for this kind of project, I've been paid as little as this and as much as this, so that when the client knows what your general range is and what your bottom line has to be, so that they can generally work out something fair for both people. That really has worked, and that one worked for me specifically. Doing that got me higher paying clients. Actually, it was surprising. And Chauncine says, again, Chauncine, tell me if I'm mispronouncing your name, please. I'm so sorry. Increasing my prices also brought more quality clients. I've heard that a lot. It is the appearance of value that you're getting, the appearance of quality because you pay more. Not saying that you're not high quality, but it's just the idea of buying $100 something versus $100 necklace versus a $2 necklace. Even if they're made out of the exact same things, people will think that the $100 one is higher quality, and that's the one that where you charging more like that is just letting people see it. But yeah, it can bring in more clients. And also, I'm pronouncing it correctly, he said, for the first time in his life. So let's move into the tutorials real quick. Some of the things that I found this week, actually most of what I found this as I was going through this, there was just just so many things to go through, and most of them were tutorials that I found. So there's absolutely no way I can get through all of these. But the first one that I saw, actually, I listed it first, not the first one that I saw, but it's one of the most important. I wanted to make sure that I was able to touch on it, is Elegant Themes. Us, the makers of Divi, we posted an article called Meditation for Beginners and Why You Might Want to Give It a Try. And when I saw this being posted, and I knew that I was going to include it at the very, very top of my tutorials, because this is, how to do it. It's how to really get started out. And it was something that I swear to you guys, for in every bit of honesty that I can get, in every bit of sincerity, when I started to meditate, when I got into this, I do this, I need to get back more on it. When I got into this and working it into my life, it actually changed my life for the better. That I was able to handle conflict better. I was able to handle stress better. I was able to that was whenever I was able to start actually dealing with moving from one career field into another, from academics into tech. And honestly, being able to meditate and having that kind of mindful awareness of the things around me, made everything in my life better. It made my marriage better. And it's something that when you see on a web design blog, you're like, well, why is that there? And it's because, seriously, meditation is one of the primary reasons that I'm here, because I was able to really focus in on what I was good at, what I needed to do, and things like that. So it's something that I think that if you've never tried it, because I got into it through a book called 10% Happier by Dan Harris. They don't mention that in the article. They mention a lot of really good resources in there, like Headspace and others, but I never thought that I could meditate. I never thought I was going to be one of those people who would be in this, and I wasn't going into it in any kind of spiritual way. That the reason 10% Happier worked for me was because it was designed, the guy had a panic attack on ABC News, and he put it out as meditation for fidgety skeptics, and he thought it was kind of hokum, and it's not. And so seeing that, it was, he produced the science behind it, all of this, and I tried it, and I did not think that I could do it, but once I did, like, seriously, great stuff, y'all. Even if there's science behind this, please give it a shot. It's hard, and it's one of the hardest things that you can do. My wife has a much harder time than I do at it, and that's okay. I'm having a hard time with it right now. It's made me learn more than anything sitting in discomfort, being able to deal with things that are uncomfortable for me, and moving through them, because that will end. That I can deal with this and move forward, and that's a skill that I did not possess before that. Before I started this about 3 years ago. I see Uncle Social say he's about Pantera, Godsmack, Ministry. Oh, I love those too. Don't get me wrong. I am a metalhead. That if I have my way, that I have Tool blasting in the background. I love it. Tool or Hamilton really is where I'm sitting at right now. But that's something that I really you can do that, because it's. Whatever lets you focus is the big thing. Whatever lets you be aware of where you are and mindful. I was seeing a counselor, and I told her during an anxiety attack that I was going to tattoo respond, not react, on my wrist, and she was like, think about what you just said. But that's something that I have to take a breath and then actually not go with my first gut instinct. And meditation helped me with that. And I promise you guys, that is a fantastic professional skill to have. That is a soft skill that will save and get you jobs. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Read that article. But yes, Reed, I'm glad you're a Tool fan too. I need to see them in concert again. They're so good. If they ever come near me again, when they're touring. So I haven't seen them in 18 years in concert. That makes me really sad. So anyway, Torque has a really good article, so I'm going to move forward just a little bit. And y'all know I come back to the comments all the time. I see that Torque had an article called "How to Quickly Improve the User Experience on WordPress," and I'm all about UX, and it's just stuff that I want you to think about. It's stuff that I think that we all should think about. Functional design, relevant icons, make sure your navigation is easy to use. The one way to lose visitors, the second way to lose visitors faster than anything is to make it that they can't figure out where to go. The first way is make sure that your site loads very slowly. If it's over 2 seconds, you'll have a high bounce rate. But yeah, make sure you read that one. I thought it was a great idea. There were great ideas in there that you should just make yourself aware of. Smashing Magazine had a when and how to use CSS multi-column layouts. That one is very straightforward. I just wanted you to know that it's there. And we posted one on elegant themes on how and when to use no-follow links and follow links. If you haven't thought about that in a long time, now's a really good time to go figure out whether or not you need to no-follow stuff, or if you're being penalized for using too many follow links in your designs, if you have them in like sidebars or footers when you do your client stuff. So that's another good one. I wrote that one, and so I'm going to move forward on that one. And then UX design on Medium, uxdesign.cc. This came in an email from me, and I saw it, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is perfect. It's UX design with Google Docs and Google Sheets. It's making a user onboarding flow, and it's using these two as tools. Showing how they go through and what you can do just using these tools for UX. That if you've never thought about how you design the user experience, that if there's anything different that you do than through your normal design, your graphic design, this is a very good read on the things that you may need to consider. It has screenshots all the way down through the way that they've used the tools within Google Documents and Google Sheets with the comments back and forth. It's great. Like, this is a really good article. I cannot stress enough how important user experience is, and I think that all of us this year are going to be bombarded with UX over anything else. That we're pretty much good at UI design. At this point, we know what to do. That we know how to make a user interface that works. May not be the best in the world, but we can all make one that works. Now we need to make sure that we know how to make a product that users like to use, that their experience using our product is as smooth and wonderful as it can be. Look at iPhone. Their number one focus is on the user experience. Everything else, even functionality, is behind that, and that's why they've sold so much, because they appeal to that, whether you like it or not. That's what they've done, and that's why it's so successful. Android, on the other hand, has tended to focus on functionality and then user experience, which is why it can seem a little more clunky. But it also appeals to a lot of people because of that, myself included, even though I'm back on iPhone now. It's just something to consider, and we're all going to be beat over the head with it this year, and this is a good place to start to see a process starting from the beginning of user onboarding and how to get them through with a good UX design. I see a lot of comments. I get excited now. Let's see. And yes, Reed, it'll be good luck getting Maynard to show up these days. Isn't that the truth? It was a long time ago when he was touring. Also saw Perfect Circle in concert too. They were good. Yeah, and make sure your server's handling every side. Noble by Design says, I thought it was between 2 and 5 seconds. That was a good load time. That is good. That is something where you will see a noticeable increase in retention if you can get it under the 2-second mark. That if it's over 5, there is data that out there that will show that you're just that plummets after that because people just don't want to wait. But between 2 and 5, most of mine are between 2 and 5 because generally I just do with blogs and don't care. I mean, they're personal things. On client sites, I do my very best to get it at least down to 1. I see, let's see. Use Smush for compressing your photos. Make sure pics are sized appropriately. Compressor.io, the EU image optimizer. I don't know how you're supposed to say it, but that's how I always say it. Photoshop, mass image compressor. I need to use Noble. I need to use the Photoshop compression a little bit when I do it. And then Piyush, again, butchered the name. I'm very sorry. We need the facility to make headers. We are Uncle Socialist line. We don't kill a kitten or push it back a week. I wanted to say kill the kitten first because that doesn't happen more importantly than the other. But yeah, it's coming. It is something that we're aware of and we want it to. Believe me, I want it so much. But we are looking forward to that so much. So yeah, UX everywhere. UX is going to be everywhere. I cannot escape it already, and this is, the second week of January. So there was also a Medium on One Pixel Out, a Medium article from One Pixel Out on 10 tips for designing the perfect form. And I know that sounds really boring, but it's something that people don't fill out forms that are too complicated or they look too hard to do. And it's different on mobile than it is on desktop. That a lot of times you're going to want your forms, if they're have a lot of fields, that you may want them to rotate into different pages even. So that one is very good to look at as well. We've got I'm going to move through some of these a little quicker. An AMP, accelerated mobile pages for 2019. There's a primer that TorqueMag did under tutorials, and WP Shout has a PHP for beginners. That one is, if you're looking to get into PHP, I think that article says that PHP is not a necessity, that you don't have to learn it, but it is something that it's good to know some of, and that's pretty much how I feel about it. That I could not sit and just write PHP code, but I know enough of it that when something breaks, I can go in and fix it. And I think that if you're a WordPress professional, that's kind of the minimum skill that we need to have, so that we can answer questions and fix things for clients. But that's a really good article on WP Shout to start with. And then WP Beginner, underneath that one, has a how to update your old WordPress posts with Gutenberg, which is something every single person is going to have to deal with. Unless you are just now starting with WordPress and you have started after 5.0 dropped, you're going to have to deal with this at some point. And sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't work. And when it doesn't, look at this and just make sure that everything lines up, that you have all of the stuff. I love stuff. Sorry, comment got me. That you look at this, because Gutenberg can mess with formatting if you ever edit anything. I've edited something. All I've done was loaded in. I've had the post that I wrote earlier, and then I opened it in Gutenberg. And then when I looked at it on my pages, everything was just spaced weirdly. Like, I don't know what happened. Nothing changed. I did not edit a line in that article, but all of the extra flags that Gutenberg adds in for the plugin to read, it messed with my post. So as you go through it, read articles like this to check up on what you can do to make sure that kind of thing does not happen to you. And Reed says that it's mandatory to learn PHP if you plan on using child themes. Yeah, that's where I use it the most, is messing with child themes. I've done it a little bit on other stuff, but most of what I've messed with in PHP over the years, over the last 11 years, has been messing with child themes more than anything else. John Cooper is late to the party, but howdy, I'm glad that you were able to join us. And then just Smashing Magazine has a very straightforward, very, very simple how to learn CSS article. And this is something that, like PHP, you have to know. Even though we are dealing in visual builders, even though that everything is moving into a much simpler space for people to use, we still need to know how to use CSS. That it's not going anywhere. Whether you're going to be working with Less or Sass or anything else, you're still going to be dealing with CSS. And you need to have at least, again, the basics covered. I'm not asking you to be able to animate SVGs using nothing but CSS, which is possible and blows my mind every time I see it. But just see the code, I just look at it and it's like, no. Like, that's how my brain responds, with just no. But you need to have basic CSS knowledge. And it was something, CSS is actually one of the things that made me stop development. I know this sounds weird, but when I was a teenager and I was first learning how to code, I was 14, 15 years old, and I was learning HTML, and I was learning QBasic and Fortran 77. when I started looking at C++ and then CSS was really first starting to be utilized, I hated them. I hated them so much that I really despised everything about it. I was like, I don't want to learn this. JavaScript was just in there, and I looked at it, I was like, oh, nope, terrible. So this is something that when I went back and looked, I was like, I was kind of an idiot, because the stuff that I didn't want to learn is very easy to get a handle on. The advanced stuff in CSS is nuts. Like, I am not a guy who can make a pixel perfect website off of a PDF using CSS. My friends can, and I love them for that, but I can't do that. So this is an article that I think y'all should read and just look at, especially if you're not fully familiar with CSS yet. Just looking at selectors and knowing what they are, stuff like P: first child and the : first line stuff are the examples they use, because you're going to be able to edit on a granular level more than you would be able to before. Like the P: first line gets you the very first line within a paragraph that you can style individually away from the paragraph itself, which has a different style altogether. Like, it's nuts what you can do with this if you know what it is. And so being able to use child selectors and actually working with the cascade is the way they put it. It's cascading style sheets, and if you can actually make it cascade, stuff works. Talking about everything, like getting modals up, not modals, box models. I can't read and look at this and talk. But it's really, really fantastic. And one of the best articles on CSS, on just look at all this stuff. This is what you can do, and here's the very basic of it that I've ever seen. So click on it. Yes, click on it. I said that very forcefully. I'm sorry. I see Uncle Social says Donetta does amazing things without CSS. That she's a wizard and your idol. The way that she uses pure Divi is amazing. Yeah, I don't know what to say other than yes. When we were on our retreat, watching Donetta work, like having her laptop and seeing her sit on a couch, like one day we were having a co-working space where all of us, like the developers were over here, the content team was spread around, like some of the designers were at a coffee table. I had my back to a fireplace on my laptop, and Donetta was on a couch to my left, and just watching her use Photoshop blew my mind. Like, just seeing her, like just the way that she went around with the design, and making the stuff that she gives you guys, like the images that you could download that were published earlier this week with those abstract images. They're nuts, y'all. I mean, it's crazy. Like, it's like watching a movie editor who has been doing it for 50 years, or 30 to 50 years. It's like, your hands work differently than mine do. That's the way I feel about watching her design. So I agree, Uncle Social. Wizard is the best term for it. JL Creative says getting under the Divi bonnet with custom CSS, JavaScript, and PHP will give you an edge. That if I agree, JL Web Creative, if you can use CSS with the Divi options, if you use all the cool stuff that the dev team and Kenny and the design team put in there, and you continue to add your CSS and JavaScript on top of it, the websites that you can make are nuts. That they're insane. That I love seeing what people can do added on top of the stuff, because you don't have to. You can do so much stuff in just Divi now that we've taken to doing our very best to not include CSS in our tutorials, because Divi is so powerful now. And when you do add it in with people like you, it gives you such an edge over the competition that you're going to win. Like that's how it is. Reed says that he started with pure Divi, and once I figured out some CSS and PHP tricks, you've been going crazy. You really want to try out Photoshop, but just never have time. Creative Cloud is a great thing to do that with, Reed, because you get both a free trial and it's a monthly membership now, so it's not nearly the investment that it used to be. That was actually how I started learning. I'm still not good with Photoshop. Like I do my stuff. I'm no Donyetta or Jason with Photoshop, and I did it on a monthly Creative Cloud membership that I could cancel whenever I didn't need it anymore, and doing that got me comfortable with Adobe products. So if it's something that you've not tried before, it's worth giving a shot at some point soon. So after the CSS one, which I absolutely adored, obviously, I wanted to point out the last one under tutorials, the how to optimize your WordPress site for 2019. Because we just got a new update. We just got everything done in 5.0. We're about to probably start looking at new installations that are just 5.0. We're gonna need just a way to things to keep in mind of how to optimize all of this. So it's easy to fall behind on some of this stuff, and they're talking about thinking in mobile first. With Gutenberg, it's actually really easy to think mobile first. They say make sure your hosting provider is making backups. That's a big one that a lot of us don't think about, is that while it is on us, that the onus is on us to go and make our own backups, you need to make sure that your host is doing the same thing. That they should be making disk images of your server at some point. So make sure that they're doing that. I know that they mention in here that WP Engine, DreamHost, TSO Host do this. Flywheel does this, and that like you need to do it with Backup Buddy, Updraft, things like that. Working on fast, adding extra security. If you don't have WordFence, if you don't have security, if you don't have iTheme security on your blog right now, on your website, I say blog, I still say blog because it's WordPress, but on your website, go install one. Stuff like that is super important, and this is the time to actually get that done, begin to work that into a new workflow, because we have a new workflow as we're working with Gutenberg, and as it improves this year, we're going to have to address our workflows a lot. I see. I hope you do, Read. I hope you do. It's $10 a month, I think, for the Photoshop one alone, and maybe it's $7. I don't honestly. Maybe it was $7 for Microsoft Office. I did both of these at the same time, actually, when I was working on a different project. Subscribed to them on a monthly basis and got rid of it, but it was super cheap. It was like $18 for both of them. It was definitely not the like $800 it used to be. Uncle Social says one of his New Year's resolutions is to stop using fireworks and use Photoshop for everything. Illustrator and InDesign are your strengths. Dude, if you can use Illustrator and InDesign, Photoshop is going to be cake. Because I do not understand how people use Illustrator and InDesign. People have tried to teach me. Like, I really need to sit down and learn those. That's something actually on my hard skills list this year, is to be able to learn how to use InDesign and Illustrator. Because it's like I am trying to design with like my pinkies, and that's all I can use whenever I'm using either of those. So yeah, you'll have no problem with Photoshop. Chauncine says you still use pure Divi with just a little bit of PHP and CSS and love Photoshop. And Reed says that iThemes is the best of the security ones to him. They added a ton of extra stuff like reCAPTCHA, and that's awesome. I did not know that they had done that. I will definitely look into it. I know that the folks over at iThemes are great, that I really like them. The ones that I've been able to meet and talk with are wonderful people. And so I always like my podcast partner always just kind of laughs at me because I will play a video game or use a software based on whether or not I like the person who makes it, whether it is the best option for me or not. So knowing them is like, yeah, I need to give that a shot then, especially with updates like that. Thank you, Reed. So that was all the tutorials. I realized that took took a little bit of time getting through. We've got about 10 minutes left-ish, and so I do want to go through some of the resources. The first thing under resources is I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with is the pros and cons of being a freelance writer. Super important at this time of year. It's the time of year where whether we want to or not, whether we mean to, and I think it's kind of hokey, but I do it myself as well, we start thinking about what we need to accomplish, how we want to approach this year, do we need to refine or fix anything, and being a freelancer or working from home, working remotely, there are pros and cons to it, like setting your own schedule, goals and deadlines, all of this stuff, and learning how to deal with the pitfalls, like you not having the professional support like you do in an office, that you can get lonely. I would absolutely lose my mind here if I didn't have my dog right here and my cat running around and jumping on the chair directly behind the camera. Having them here actually makes it less lonely for me. When they were at the vet a few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, I actually got lonely in the house. Like, I don't have my animals, but like that's a big problem for remote workers is loneliness. So that's something that y'all need to look at. That overworking. Make sure you take weekends. That is the best freelancing advice I was ever given. You work whatever 5 days you do, 4 days, however you do it, whatever your schedule is, you need to be able to take time off. It is the single most important thing that I was told, and is absolutely right. It's very easy to work too hard, work too much. If you're freelancing or working remote, make yourself take a couple of days off a week, no matter what. But that's one of the things that they talk about. So stuff like that, pros and cons that you should be aware of. TorqueMag did a 4 things that you can do with Gutenberg that you cannot do with the classic editor, which is the new take on it. Creating multiple columns, changing font size, color, and background color, reusable blocks and stuff that's drag and drop. Like, they show you stuff that's really useful, stuff that we need to learn how to use better. Sorry about that. Eli, I don't know if Photoshop CSS can be used on certain Divi modules. That's one thing I don't know. I've never tried, so hopefully Chauncine or someone who uses that with Divi will be able to talk about that. And yes, Reed, do not work after 7. That is... I learned that when I was working at the college. When I was working at the college and would respond to student emails at any given time, if my administrator emailed me or anything, I would just immediately respond, and it stressed me out so much I had to turn my email off once I left. I was like, I would check until a certain time, 6 or 7, and then if it came in after that, that's that. I put Slack onto Do Not Disturb, and snooze it after, I want to say 7 o'clock. Maybe it's 8. But just in case the team needs me, and if they really need to do it, they can push a notification. But it's a fantastic idea to put you a quitting time. And do not feed them after midnight or get them wet. That is true. The last thing that you want is a freelancer gremlin. That freelancers already can be really, really grumpy. So that means that you do not need to shower as a freelancer. I'm kidding. That is actually very important, is setting up a grooming and hygiene routine. You do want to get them wet, Uncle Social. But yes, stuff like that. The elegant themes, we put together a 55 web design blogs to follow. And yes, there are 55 web design blogs in our blog about that. I don't expect you to read all 55, but I think you would do well to look, because I think there are some that you would really, really like to add to your Feedly reader or Ino reader. Don't know how to say it. WP Mayer is talking about a Slack competitor that I didn't know about called Twist. Twist is a work. Well, it's a Slack competitor. They went with Slack, and they have moved now into Twist, so that it's not nearly as pressing as Slack is. Like I said, I had to snooze notifications, and they say that the way that discussions are in Twist doesn't make people expect an immediate reply, which means that you're not on call anytime it comes through. So it's things like that was interesting to learn about. I'd never heard about Twist, but I'm glad that WP Mayer had, so that now I have. WPMU Dev did a non-developer's guide to Git and GitHub. I did one of these year before last, I think. It was published in 2017. Probably my favorite article I've ever written. I love it. But if you don't want to search the Elegant Themes archive for that one, you can just click the link and check out the Git and GitHub article, because it's really confusing that if you're just getting into it and you've never used Git or GitHub, especially if you're not a coder, if you're a non-developer, you're looking at this stuff and it's like, I don't know what any of this is. It's very easy once it's explained to you. So I would love for you to click on this, read it, and you'll understand more of just kind of random things you see on the internet. I actually started noticing more things about version control, SVM, and then just software in general once I understood Git and the concept behind it in GitHub. So it's imperative that you know a little bit about it, and this is a good way to do it. I see Uncle Social said that Google is killing Hangouts this year and replacing it with Hangouts Chat, which is supposedly like Slack. What? For real? I haven't heard about this. How did I miss this? They're also closing Inbox, and I'm angry about that. I'm typing that in into a tab so that I can read about it whenever I go offline here. So thank you for letting me know about that. I had no idea. We use Hangouts as a content team for our calls and things like that. That'll be really interesting to see, because as a company we use Slack. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. That's weird. Free Code Camp has a Why Most Redesigns Fail that I think all of you guys would get a lot out of. There's an Angular versus Vue versus React post that I found on Code and WP that this is the year where we're going to have to learn JavaScript. We are. Gutenberg's out. If you're planning on developing for it, it is written in React. Divi is written in React. That if you want to develop for these, and you do, learn React. And this one kind of breaks down what each of them is good for. Or at the very least, learn JavaScript, and that will show you about the libraries and frameworks. It's also... I see that they call it framework, and it's like, because React's really a library, and then that's where I start nerding. It's like, JL Web Creative says, I'm still using the Tortoise SVN, but we'll get back to GitHub now that they offer unlimited private repos. I don't know Tortoise. That's one that I want to look at. I haven't seen that. T-O-R-T. I love learning new stuff, y'all. Y'all make me so excited. I love this because of stuff like this. So thank you. And then, the finishing up on that, talking about React and all of that, the very last one under resources is using React for WordPress Gutenberg development by TorqueMag. And, Reed, I realized I know which sucks, and it does, because I'm not great with JavaScript and stuff like that, but I promise you that it will be worth it in the end. Being able to develop in JavaScript and React is going to make us better designers, because we can make the front end do so much better, and it's going to make us be better developers because we're going to be able to look at it and be like, oh, I have this problem, I can solve it like this, and you have a lot more freedom using JavaScript and React than you do just using native tools sometimes. So it's going to pain me to learn it, just like it's going to pain you, but we can get through this. We can get through 2019 JavaScript together, y'all. So that is it this week. I'm out of time, and so I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I know it was a long break, and I apologize for that, but I will be back next Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, broadcast every Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we also have our other live streams at 5 a.m. Eastern on Mondays. We have Mac going through Divi features, and then on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, we have Donyetta or Jason going through a use case for all of you guys to see how to use some of our layout packs and various tools. So we would really appreciate it if you would click the notification bell on YouTube, if you would hit subscribe, and if you're on Facebook, it would be great if you would let them know that you want to be notified when we go live. It is under the like and following button. I've had to turn it off on some, but you want to know about us. So thank you guys. I really, really do appreciate y'all being here. I can't say it enough. If you're new, I hope you come back. And if you're a regular, I hope you come back. So basically, I hope you come back. I will see you guys next week. And I hope you guys have a good week and weekend. And enjoy yourselves. And don't get into too much trouble. Bye, everybody.